it won't be possible for you to go out, have a brand, have a brand ambassador, create a film out of it, and invest multi-million dollars on building beautiful 40-50 million reach. Of course, that's the ideal state. But when you are starting new, when you are just about to take the first flights, it is important that the kind of services that you impart to your consumers, people who find the niche in the gap that you're providing as a service, you should make them happy the most. Okay, and say for instance, use that service or product that you're delivering to them as a piece of communication, as a piece of goodwill, as a piece where they can reflect back and say, oh, but this startup or this product or service is delivered by this company does create a lot of value for me. So when it is just taking shape for you, focus on to the consumers that are finding the niche, and while they are finding that niche, you have to keep growing them with yourselves. So moving on, when you move to the seed levels, where I say that you're just getting started, you're coming to the runway, and you are just getting your gears ready. Now, at that point in time, you would have tested your product or services with a lot many, not just handful, but a lot many more consumers. Now, when you do that, it becomes important for you to make them evangelist of your brands. And nowadays, when say for instance, I ordered a DIY kit from one of the startups based out of Gurgaon, and when they delivered that DIY kit for me, it was into the food industry. The packaging was brilliant. The communication and the packaging of the steps on how to make the food were very creatively done, and not in just terms of writing, oh please cut the onions now, put salt, but it was so creatively well written that you kind of just go with the flow of the brand, and it left me with a lot of purpose that what they are trying to do is not just deliver you a DIY kit. So coming from there, and it never took me never I never had a second thought in terms of not posting about the kind of creatives that they had shared with me, the kind of packaging they had, and it was all top notch. So now when you're just getting yourself ready for flying, I think those are the most important things while you have to look at, because the consumer then becomes your evangelist, and once they become your evangelist, it helps you a lot in terms of building the brand. Moving on, when you are into your early growth stages, when you're standing on the strip, and the pilot is about to switch on all the engines, is comes in when you actually are about to looking at reaching out to a little larger audience. Say, for instance, now you're opening up more cities. Say, let's take the same example of the DIY kit startup that I was talking about based out of Gurgaon. Now they are looking at moving out to, say, Bombay, Bangalore, Pune. And when you're doing that, it is very important. Of course, people will keep coming back and saying, oh, let's do performance spend. Let's put up a lot of money on Facebook and USC, and it will help us get a lot of installs or a lot of queries on my website. The visits will increase, and once those visits increase, we'll be able to convert them to our actual transacting consumers. I think that is where we have to keep a point in our mind, that all that what I just explained you in terms of doing those digital campaigns slash so-called performance campaigns, all of these are uh, part of push marketing. Okay, nowhere you are creating any pull for your brand, because I'm talking about zillions of impressions just going to consumers on your will, where you feel that these guys could be my closest consumers. But I will suggest that even at that stage, when your budgets are tight, when your investments are not going to allow you to invest so freely because of the balance of the budgets that you have in mind, My suggestion will be to start creating a lot of content around the product or services that you do. It doesn't matter if it is a production housed, made of a 8K HDR video that has been shot with good looking faces. The most important thing in that content is the actual usage of the product or services that you're delivering, and what is the value that it is solving to the consumers for. Again, let's take the same example of the DIY brand that I was talking about. Even a 30-year-old just cooking in his or her kitchen uh, can be the kind of content that you're talking about. No need of running behind big influencers. I think creating those videos or the content which solves, and again, the two objectives that I was talking about, is the most important thing for a brand at that point in time, right? So moving on, when you are at your growth stage, probably anywhere between your round B to round E is where you are actually about to take off, right? You're now well set in terms of whatever up till now you have done in terms of having either the correct brand awareness or your correct ARRs in place. It is important now for you to start building the reach. Now, just imagine the same brand is now going not only from those top four metros, but is going to pan India. Now, when you're going pan India, it is again important for us to have more and more people coming into knowing you as a brand. Now, when you are making those things, just keep in mind all the reach building activities that you can either do hyper locally, or you want to have a pan India presence. As far as my experience goes, and the suggestion that I would like to make is on is basically on that you need to look at what is the most cost effective way for you to do that. Now, when I'm talking about the pan India thing or building the reach for your own brand, it is important for all of us to understand the micro moments. Now, again, what do I mean with micro moments? Going back to the same example, the same brand, the DIY brand, can also look at capitalizing weekends. Weekends are usually something like going out, having good food, but to a lot of us, weekends can also be sitting at home, watching a match. Can also be one of the micro moments. I think we Indians in last 3 to 4 years have understood, in the age of delivering food delivering, we have understood that biryani thumbs up and a cricket match goes really well. So those are the micro moments that these brands have built themselves on. And you need to find out those micro moments where your product and services fit very well with that kind of micro moment. Giving you another example, it could be for Ola, it used to be while it is raining. Of course, there were certain edge cases, but yes, for micro moment, the moment it is about to start raining or there is a prediction to rain, it used to be a great micro moment for Ola to pull up the socks and do a lot of communication around it at that point in time. So the idea about micro moment is to actually find a purpose for the brand, right? And you have to be at it for a very long time. Say for instance, for any healthcare brand, all the WHO days are the kind of micro moments that any brand would like to capitalize on and make them as much big as possible for your own brand, right? So finding out solutions in terms of the fitment to that particular requirement is the key at this stage of your brand slash startup slash the organization that you're working with. So moving on, I think at a maturity stage level, now when you have reached here, of course, when you're talking about pan India, and you moving from the growth stage to auto mode, I think you must have invested already in terms of either hyperlocal ATL. By that I mean either possibility of an outdoor, either possibility of radio, or possibility of print. But whereas if you're looking at a pan India's spray, machine gun spray, then look at TV in terms of building one, the environment for your brand, uh, two, building, because when I see you on TV, of course, it's the best fit medium in terms of or the best known medium in terms of making your AV go through and people apprehending you as a brand. And we have seen outcomes where people come back and say, "Yeah, I've seen this guy on TV." That means it is a somewhat trusted brand. Of course, that mentality still holds true. Whereas if I'm talking about digital, to build that for me, your consistent presence in terms of display visibility is a key factor. Your micro moments building up to macro for you is a key aspect. And then and when you are on the auto mode, it is important for you to have WA, which is weeks on air. So basically, say for instance, any of the FMCG products, they have a clear mandate of having very high weeks on air, because your requirement of buying a product, usually as per their own feedbacks and as per their own research, comes from saying that it happens either at the start of the month or at the end of the month. But when you are at the moment of truth, that is at the POS, buying that product, the main impact, it comes through the term that you have built. Thus, your weeks on air become very important for you. Now, uh, weeks on air, it's not only for any of the one medium, but when you're putting the consumer at the center, you can think through that weeks on air is can also be in working in tandem for you in terms of either being present on any of the mediums that fits well, one, for your consumer, two, in your budgets. So it need not be that out of the 52 weeks in a year, I only if you are present 48 weeks on TV is what it's gonna make out for you. No, it is not. I've seen brands at this stage doing a very creative work in terms of picking up their sections, picking up channels, picking up media buys in a very creative creative manner, where they might be visible on TV for say 2 to 3 weeks in a quarter, but they will do an input of saying out of a 12-week quarter, we were present on digital for 9 weeks, and while the TV was on, we try to have a multi-channel approach, and we linked outdoor, we linked radio to it, just to give a much more wider reach. So weeks on air, yes, it is one of the most important facet of while you are planning your media spends or planning your campaigns in terms of building your brand. It also depends on the building of term as well, and not necessarily to any one medium. It can be on multimedia approach as well. Now, in all of this, in all of these stages, the most, of course, the most important and underlining factor is that whatever you produce as content, or as say TVC, or as say digital film, um, all of those things again should answer those two factors for you. One, is it bringing my product or service in line to what I am delivering to? Second, it should add the value to a consumer when they consume my product or service. Now, if we look at these two to be solved with the content that we have produced, and layer this with the kind of stage you are with your brand, and the kind of inputs I have shared, are the ones which can actually help you build the brand. Now, and you can be as creative as in terms of finding your own best way to work around, the summary, if I have to give you here. So when you're at pre-seed levels, or when you're just starting, it is important for you to work with your consumers, or work with people who are already taking care of your services or taking account of your services. At a seed level, that community building becomes the most important thing for you. At early growth stage, it is about creating the right kind of content, because here you can start. uh, and from growth stage, it is for you to start increasing from here onwards. You start increasing your reach, add those media channel, add those content which can help you grow. And at maturity, of course, it is important to keep in mind the weeks on air, the IMRs and the toms of the world, to keep growing. Okay, so if let's take in hypothetical case. Now, when I am a growth manager at, say, X brand who is into early growth stage. Now, when I am at an early growth stage, it is important for us to define our business objective, communication objective, and the marketing objective. A hypothetical case where I want to grow 5x in a financial year 21-22. Now it is important, it is imperative to have business objective into correct measurables and the time period mentioned. For marketing objectives, it can run into saying the brand awareness by 20% points. Again, it is very, very important that you define a financial, or define a time period of achieving it. Communication objective, I picked this up from the category that I work in, so that it becomes easier for everyone to also understand, and I being able to apprehend as well. We can look at online doctor consultation is a better alternative and solves actual health problems. It is one of the biggest barriers for online doctor consultation category, right? Or say digital healthcare platforms. So when you're defining these, of course, wanted to take you through how to write a creative brief, media brief. What are the real works that need to go into in terms of arriving at the kind of output that we were looking at. Define your teaching, define your geography, define the consumer insights. It is important when you write these things in manner, your objective or people working on to these briefs become very, very easier for them. Even in media objectives, it is important to define the marketing objective as your media objective, because that is what a measurable goal that you can look at. Even it can go for the creative brief as well. And how do I say this campaign was successful for me? So for business objective, did my average baseline, say for last 4 weeks to 8 weeks, increased or not? Did my awareness as an average baseline in terms of percentage point increased or not? So these are hard measures that you can look at, where you can say whether your campaign was successful or not. Now you might be asking, might be thinking a question like, oh, okay, while I'm doing just a content marketing stuff, do you think I will be able to understand the awareness increase? To an extent, yes, you can still run awareness track on a smaller segment, also digitally, and it can definitely give you where there was a brand lift or not. So your brand lift study in partnership with AC Nielsen's can help you, or all the other marketing research companies have gone digital very well, and they can help you understand whether your awareness increase happened or not. The overall, sorry, the overall baseline increase comes from your own internal numbers. But while you're defining for specific charters, which is your creative predefined matrices, always look at whether the campaign that you have planned or the content that you have created has their CTRs increased for you or not. Because it is the first level where you've defined a consumer, and if the value for the consumer is not there in that content, your CTRs or VTRs will always be very, very low. Now, campaign engagement usually stays on top by saying people liking, people sharing, and those kind of stuff. Also, given the fact while you do have a lot of social media listening tools these days, it is important for you to look at the social word crowd if it is possible, if you have a social media listening tool, because with those word clouds you will be able to understand the kind of patterns that you wanted people to take home. Was the DIY kit helpful for me to make a delicious food, or to have an awesome restaurant like dinner at my home? Okay, so those are the kind of very important words that you go back with, because you know, while I was creating the content, these are the kind of outputs I'm looking for. So basically, it validates your entire content creation strategy. For media predefined matrices, yes, it works on knowing what was my CPM, CPIs, has my consumer journey, both. And why I'm talking about media predefined matrices, it is very important for us to look at both organic and inorganic installs for us. Now, looking at the entire consumer journey, your organic and pushed will have its own percentage consumer journeys from install sign up to conversions. Mostly, as a reality check, your organic numbers, while you do a very big research, a very big reach campaign, your conversions do drop, because there's a lot of influx of people in terms of your top of the funnel, because they might want to try it out, might want to just look what you do, or could be curious about the product or services that you're providing. It might not reach out to the conversion levels of what it used to be earlier. There are chances that it drops. Also, you can also look at share of voice, which is called as SOV, and share of expenditure. And these are always put at a consumer, as a category level. Now, when I'm talking about a category level, who are the bigger spenders in your category? To where do you stand while you are spending? Because it will give you an idea whether whether I was able to reach out to the consumers, or are already blocked by somebody else for you. So yeah, so this is where I am in terms of how we can build brand building at a different stages. So coming back, I think it's now time I can take few of your questions. Okay. Okay, so Nihal asked any examples of some amazing startups that have gotten their branding right. Krish, absolutely. Zomato, Dunzo, these guys have done brilliantly well. And I think you've picked up very good examples, because they show you the entire left to the right of the extremes. Zomato having big budgets, went into big campaigns. Dunzo, whereas being more into Bangalore, and has beautifully worked on to their content strategy. Of course, last 1 to 2 years, Zomato has just changed the entire ball game in terms of their content strategies, from viral APNs to viral or shareable social post. Zomato and Dunzo have done both, and have done very right. There are many other examples. I think when Baidu started, it was only their brand was built only by their inside sales team, or by just the calling team, and they used to talk to you so well in terms of understanding the product and services, and which actually led to a lot of word of mouth for them, till the time they had reached out. I'd taken Shah Rukh Khan as an example, or as a brand ambassador for them, is where they started building their blocks very rightly. Okay, moving on. Ram, how do you suggest a startup to build their brand team out? How to build their brand team? Okay, so if I understand this correctly now, so should this be done internally or externally? If that is it, then of course you need to have your uh, your brand managers in house, because these are the guys who are going to be the gatekeepers of whatever is going to go out to your consumer. It is important that those guys are very close to your brand, and understand what is the kind of right product and services that, or the value that the brand is adding to the consumers. I hope that answers. When is the right time or stage to start working with an agency for brand building? First, it's a brilliant question, because a lot many times this is a fix for a lot of growth managers or a lot of entrepreneurs. The most important point is I have to, even if I'm starting to work with a agency from the first day itself, the most important thing is that the agency, one, treat the brand as the partner that they really want to work together with. And second, as a brand, you also have to value agency in terms of they delivering you the right kind of information. Because honestly, while you are young, while you are at a very early stage into your brand, it might not be possible to have a entire creative factory internally. It will be much more efficient to take help from agencies outside. Now, the only important thing is the trust has to be there, because what I've seen is a lot of founders, a lot of growth managers come back and say the agency does not take care. Oh, agencies don't know anything. They're only worried about their money. But to be honest, I've worked in an agency for 4.5 years myself, and the kind of effort that we used to put in for the brand was great. And even we were valued by the client that we used to work with. And all those 4 years I worked only at a one single client, and it was an amazing feature what we used to achieve together. And I think the only, again, just because I'm seeing a lot of questions onto the same things, do agency work well, or should we build an in-house team? Again, Anand, like I was answering the same question for Fires, uh, it depends on to the entrepreneur or to the growth manager how much trust they can do with the agency. Now, if you take it from me in terms of one point, one single line and answer on this, I think yes, it is a good idea to have agencies also working, because the kind of expertise and value system they bring onto the table is very different than you building in-house team. Because they will have a creative director, art director, who has 15 years of experience, wherein when you are talking about building an in-house team, you might not be go beyond a person who has 3 years or 2 years of work ex. Now your knowledge will be limited, because your experience is up till now has not been to a 20-year-old guy, because in creative thinking, that's the biggest aspect. So I hope that answers. Okay, moving on. First, yes, tentative budget for branding at early stage and seed startups or seed stage. Okay, so first, to be very honest, if you talk to any FMCG brand manager, they might be having three-digit yearly budgets. But if you talk to them, was it enough? They will always come back and say, no, that was not enough. So budgets at any stage are not always enough, given the fact that you have them then. But tentative budgets, that time, if you're at an early seed startup, I think you should spend more on creating content. And when that content creation happens, like I said, it need not be a 8K by a A plus director shot. You can look at a 2 lakh purpose animated video also to answer your problems, or a self-made handheld video can also do the trick for you. So look at anywhere between 50,000 to 2 lakh for a content creation, and then you seeding or amplifying that content piece can another add of the similar amount of budget as well, keeping in mind all the channels right now using to be digital with you. So that can be for any of your content piece going out. Also, what I have seen at this point in time, Usually when you are at an early growth stage, you can do a lot of FAQ videos, and those FAQ videos are about what are the questions that you feel are the barriers for your consumers. You can get them handheldly shot by any person. Say for instance, you are the growth manager, just do it by yourself and use yourself as the star in it, and then start producing as many as possible with your, say if you have an in-house team, just do the top and tail, bring in your branding there, and just keep releasing them. And that could be your budget saver as well. I'll be very honest, I've shot a video in just 2000 rupees as well, where the people that we used in the video were our colleagues, and 2000 rupees that we paid were just for the mics and everything rentals. So there are always variations of the budgets that you can look at. Great. If there are no more questions, I think we've come to an end. Oh, wow, we've taken good 36 minutes. So thank you everyone for coming in, and we'll be happy to see you again sometime in future. Take care. I'm on LinkedIn. If any questions, Ashish Bajaj is the profile, and you guys can reach out to me for any of your further questions. Take care. Bye. Thanks.